Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Crazy Horse Memorial. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Travis Dewis, and I'm the Cultural Programs Manager here at Crazy Horse Memorial. So that means a lot of programs like this fall under my care. This particular program is the Talking Circle program, which we host 10 times throughout the summer months. This is our 9th, and we will have 10 this summer. So the Talking Circle program is a unique opportunity that we get to host experts in a variety of fields to come in and talk about what they know best. And tonight it just happens to be the Dakota Daughters, which I'll let Stephen introduce in a moment. But quick shout out. Next week, excuse me, we'll have Mike Lammers. He's an educator at the Journey Museum, and he is an expert in star knowledge. And so he actually has made 2 star maps, traditional Lakota star maps, and there are only a handful in existence today. So if you are local and you'd like to come back next week, please do. But otherwise, please like us on Facebook at the Indian Museum of North America at Crazy Horse Memorial and on Instagram as well. So without further ado, here's Stephen.
Thank you. My name is Stephen Zacharias, and it's an honor and privilege to be asked here tonight. I am actually a museum educator over in Gillette, Wyoming at the Campbell County Rockpile Museum. We focus on the history of the Powder River Basin, which extends from the Black Hills to the Yellowstone, up into Montana, and then down into central Wyoming. And the Dakota Daughters asked me to come and introduce and to remind you all at the end of the program tonight, you have a unique opportunity for all of us to process what we just witnessed and to answer questions that you might have of the cast. I can help out too if that needs to happen. But the reason that I'm here to introduce them is I first saw this in December of 2019. This is the first time I saw this performance. They've been doing it for just over 20 years now. In some form, with Joyce being the original, and then the cast has changed a couple times. This piece is pretty powerful because it deals with history we didn't learn in school. It talks about the Wounded Knee massacre. It wasn't a battle. It was nothing even close to being a battle. In Congress, we're still waiting on them to pass the Remove the Stain Act. There are men that are still on the record books today that received medals of honor for their actions at the Wounded Knee massacre for gallantry and bravery. There was nothing gallant or brave about what took place that day in 1890. Just less than 140 years ago. This is a unique opportunity to witness the history of what happens after the American Civil War, all the way through the Wounded Knee Massacre, from a woman's perspective. That's also a perspective we don't get in school. A lot of museums don't focus on it. So I applaud Crazy Horse tonight, not only for hosting this program, but giving a platform for these women to tell the story of the Wounded Knee Massacre. Again, please stick around at the end. I'll come back and moderate a session where people can process and ask questions, but please enjoy the show.
Standing on a hill, waving my shawl at you. My goodness, come back over here. Come over here, Chungshi, my daughter. This is the place I was telling you about. You know, when I was your age, my Ina brought me to this exact same place. Did you bring the wasna that you and Unchi made? Let me see how it looks. Oh, hey, that wasna looks washed day. You know, Unchi told me what a hard worker you are, and it makes me very, very proud. That's why she gave you her mother's name, Nape Washtewia, good hands woman, because she knew you were going to be a hard worker. My name? Well, my Ina told me that. She gave me my name when she was pregnant with me, and they were moving camp, and I was ready to come. So she went near the creek, and she was in so much pain that she closed her eyes and started praying. And when she opened her eyes, all these butterflies were all around, and they were so beautiful. And when she was watching them, it took her mind off me coming into this world. And so to honor the Butterfly Nation, she gave me the name Kimemela. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna take the wasna and we're gonna give it to Mother Earth to thank her for providing us with food. And then we're gonna pick some titsila from the purple flowers and braid them. Isn't this a beautiful place? This is our home and will be our home forever.
Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. I just can't get that song out of my head. Oh, so this is Dakota territory. Oh, Stephen, what a beautiful land. It's so wild and free. Body can see for miles, and there's not another person in sight. Oh, and just smell that fresh air. Oh, the railroad companies are right. This truly is the sole remaining paradise in the Western world. And now now that the government's finally opened it up to somebody besides those Indians, it's all ours just for the taking. Oh, Stephen, oh, children, Stephen Curtis Jr., don't you dare pull your sister's hair. Now, look, over there in that grove of trees, do you see her? It's a mama deer watching over her baby. And yesterday we saw a whole herd of antelope, and we've seen buffalo, and we've seen eagles flying overhead. Oh, I'm sure that Dr. Brewster Higley had this place in mind when he penned those words. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, and where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Oh my, I wonder if that means it never rains here. Excuse me, ma'am, does it ever rain here? Oh, that is so good. Oh, come on. Ah, watch out, it's a snake, it's a snake. Ah!
Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. One of these mornings so bright and fair. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. I'm gonna spread my wings and try the air. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. We come from a land from across the sea. We come to a land that was supposed to be free. We worked and toiled for the master's will. We worked for free while the master filled her till. But now we're free. Free to go to school. Yes, we're free. Free to earn a wage. Yes, Lord, we're free. Free to get our 40 acres and a mule. We come from a land of pestilence. We come from a land of no can do. We're on our way to health and wealth. We're on our way to you can too. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Turn on your mic.
Jungshi. Oh, there you are, my daughter. I was looking for you. I wanted to tell you something. Your father and I were talking, and we decided to go with Lala Sitting Bull up to grandmother's land. Why? You know, ever since the Washichu people been coming, they've been killing the buffalo for no good reason, and now hunting is scarce. Lala said there's still a lot of buffalo up in grandmother's land. Plus, he doesn't want to go to the land that the High Hats and the Washichus want us to go to. You remember last week when Ate and Lala went out there? Well, he doesn't like what they see. He sees all of our young people drinking firewater, and he sees the Washichus treating our people with disrespect. And he does not want that to happen to us. So your father and I talked about it. And you know, Lala said when he gets up to Canada, he's going to see if we can get, there's some way we can get the Black Hills back in the buffalo. So for those reasons, we're going to go. So tonight, I want you to go around and say goodbye to your neighbors and your relatives who are going to that land. Say goodbye to this beautiful land, for we may never see it. Remember, Chungshi, we must do this to live.
Well, you're really quiet tonight, Stephen. What's wrong? Our cattle? But why on earth would the Indians steal our cattle? We've never done anything to them for food, but why? I thought the government was giving them all they need. Now, that does remind me, though, there was a writer came by just this morning and he was looking for missing cattle too. And he said that hostile Indians killed Isaac Miller and burned his house and barn to the ground. And you know, we heard how hostile Indians attacked Custer and his troops way up there in the Little Bighorn. You know, I heard those savages killed every single one of them. What's gotten into these crazy Indians anyway? Don't they remember what they agreed to when they signed that Fort Laramie Treaty? They're supposed to be farming and making a living like us decent people. Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sure you're right about that. I mean, after all, they've never done any real work. All they've ever done is move from place to place and chase buffalo. And, oh, Stephen, we both know that farming is, oh, it's such hard work. I mean, just look at my poor hands. Well, say, is there any good news in that Rapid City paper you're reading? 15,000 miners now prospecting in the Black Hills? Land sakes alive. That does make a body wonder if finding gold in these Black Hills was a good thing, doesn't it? Why do you suppose the Indians are so reluctant to give up the Black Hills anyway? I mean, after all, now that the government's giving them everything they need, they really have no need for gold. Sacred? The Black Hills? Oh. You know what? I could use a little bit of that gold. Oh yeah, yeah. I I could start I could start a roadhouse right here for all those people. I know. I could get Lucy Lone Eagle to help me. Oh yes, you remember her. She's that Indian girl who's been coming to our church. You know, she's been asking a lot of questions about Jesus and the Bible. Yeah, that's what I can do. I can get Lucy to help me, teach her all about Jesus Christ, and maybe buy some safety from these savage redskins.
My man Cicero, he a buffalo soldier, soldier. Joined night cavalry to keep the peace, soldiering day and night. Soldiering through the day, soldiering through the night. I bet my money on a buffalo. Somebody bet on the plains. I got a letter from my intendant. He's a buffalo soldier. Being separated from him is so hard. I pine for him daily. Well, here's his letter. Dear Mattie Elmira, that's me. We was through Cheyenne for a stint at Fort D.A. Russell. I was reading in the Daily Leader and come past this poem that remind me about us. But we can't be together until I muster out. Sergeant Smith always say, if the Army wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you a wife. I may never get married. Dakota territory is free for everybody to come to. They can file claims or own property. That's the reason they come in droves to Dakota territory. I hopes you can come out real soon. The land is plentiful and good for ranching and farming. We got a new preacher in who told us we need to be a vessel for God by learning all you can. We sits up nights ciphering and reading so's we can make rank. The more you know, the farther you go. I hears taps and reveille. That must be the roll call. Will sound before I know it. Faithfully yours, Cicero.
Today an Indian boy has been born. Hey, hey. Today an Indian boy has been born. Hey, hey. He'll be blessed the Indian way and love the earth the Indian way. Hey, hey, ya, hey, ya, way, ya, hey, oh. Chungshi, my daughter, I was just thinking about you and my new takoja. Look, I've been working on these moccasins. Come on in. See if you can see if they fit. I was just thinking about the naming ceremony we had, and I just love the name that Lala gave my takoja. Dismounts 4 times, and I love the story that goes along with it. What did he said? This is what he said. He said his uncle was hunting in Blackfoot country when all of a sudden he was spotted by some Blackfoot warriors. So he jumped on his horse and took off. The Blackfoot warriors, they jumped on the horse and took off after him. After a while, he got off and he would start shooting arrows at the Blackfoot warriors. They got off and started shooting arrows back. The uncle had to do that 4 times before he was able to get away from them. And when he got back to camp and told his story, he was given the name Dismounts 4 times for his bravery. And it makes me so proud that now my Takosha have that name. I'm really glad you came to visit. You know, Chungshi, we've been up here for 5 winters now, and a lot has happened. You're married, and I have great respect for your husband, for he's a great hunter and warrior, but even up here in grandmother's land, hunting is getting scarce. You know, Lala's been talking to the hi-hats from our homeland. And he wants to go back because he thinks he can convince them to put a big old fence around the Black Hills and the Buffalo to keep us in and the Washichus out. And I think it's a good idea. So your father and I talked about it, and we're going to go with him. But Lala said one thing that's going to happen when we go down there and we get to our reservation, we won't have a choice of where we're going to live. The Indian agent will tell us where to live. You know how we live in a teepee circle right now? You live there, and Lala lives here, and all of our relatives just live around here. When we get to the reservation, they're going to move us out into little cabins like the Washichus, and we're going to live far away from each other. He said, no matter what, we have to be strong, and he thinks that they created that to break up the strength of the family. Jungshi, I hope you decide to come with us. I know it's up to you and your husband now. Remember, Midako Oyasin, we're all related.
Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Olivia, honey, dinner's almost ready, and look, we can see the neighbors coming down the road. Do your grandma a favor and go help your Aunt Effie set the table for dinner. How I miss my parents. Wish they could be here. But even so, I do have much to be thankful for. Oh, land sakes alive, I have family right here. Plenty of good food to eat and wonderful friends to share it with. Hello, hello. Happy Thanksgiving, and do come in. 2 mincemeat pies. Oh, Emma Cook, you are a peach. Sarah made some apple pie, and Effie made some pumpkin pie, and Lucy made a dish out of choke cherries that she calls wojapi. You know, it goes great with scones. I'm teaching her how to make scones out of the flour her family gets from government issue. Well, Curtis and Amanda, before we eat, would you take this food out there to Cicero and the other Buffalo soldiers over there by the gate? Oh, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Now, before Papa Stephen says grace, I'd like for each one of you to tell at least one thing you're thankful for. Ashlyn, you're the youngest, so you can go first. Yes, Ashlyn, we're all thankful that you're not a turkey, too. Oh, children, I'm so proud of you. You're all thankful for your families, for Sunday school, and for the fact that the Indians haven't lifted your hair yet. You know, children, Jesus loves you all very much. Uh, yes, Ashlyn, yes, he loves the little Indian children too. Oh, yes, Olivia, yes, he loves them as much as he loves the little white children. Do you remember that new song you just learned in primary? How did it go? Something about Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world, red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. Well, you know, children, the red children are the Indian children. Count your blessings, name them one by. Oh my, what a wonderful day this has been, and so much to be thankful for. And now, with the Dawes Act in effect, President Cleveland is going to give up to 160 acres of free land to all Indian families. I wonder if they have absolutely any idea how much they have to be thankful for, too. Oh my, just look at all those beautiful stars. How often at night, when the heavens are bright, with the lights of the glittering stars, have I stood here amazed and asked as I gazed, if their glory exceeds that of ours.
Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of this world. He's going to be with God. Goodbye, Uncle Biggin. You's free now. No more worries, no more strife. You didn't quite make it to Dakota territory, but you made it all the way to Nicodemus. He's going to be with God. Sowing in the morning, sowing seeds of kindness, sowing in the noontime and the dewy eve, waiting for the harvest and the time of weeping, reaping. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Oh, Estelle, I am so glad that you are here. I just put on a batch of pan bread and I finished a letter to Cicero. And I was hoping that you could take my letter to the post office on your way to town because I can't mail it. So, what I'd like for you to do is mail the letter and I'll watch the pan bread. Well, no, you cannot read my letter. Well, it's personal. Well, I guess since you're my sister, I will read it to you. But I can't read it all. Dear Cicero, I'm learning to read better and better. I go to church almost every night after work to learn my lessons. Of course, on Wednesday night, we have prayer service. Afterwards, we try to get at least an hour of lessons in. This is the best 50 cents a month I spend. Last week, we got a paper from Sully County near Pierre. Isn't that part of the territory you patrol? The paper said Sully County is booming land and people could get a homestead as much as 160 acres apiece. Well, I won't read that. And I can't read that, but I could read this. Mama and Papa are doing well, but people are dropping like flies, and we have one funeral after another. Uncle Biggin died of yellow fever, and we buried him last Saturday. He died a happy man, didn't suffer long, and he tasted the sweet tree of freedom, but he never made it to Dakota territory. My sister Rozier is working hard so she can become an instructress. She wants to teach our people. She says people can take away your home, they can take away your money, but they can never take away your knowledge. So study hard and learn all you can. Papa was thinking about bringing the family out and each of us getting our own parcel. You could get your 160 acres, and since we're not married, I'd get my 160 acres next to yours. Then we could build a shack with a wall in the middle of the property line. And when we prove up and register our homesteads, we get married, tear down that wall, and make it our home. Well, Speaking of home, people told us we need to go back to Africa. We tells them Africa isn't our home. We were born right here and never lived in Africa, so how could that be our home? Well, now I told you, if you want to practice your reading, you can read the Bible just like I do. And I want you to take that straight to the post office. And don't you open it up.
Chungshi, so good to see you. Come on in. Where's my Takoja? Oh, he went to see Lala? Well, that's good. Lala's heart's on the ground. But I'll tell you about that sadness, but come on in. I wanted to show you something. Do you remember that flower that the US government give us and we make these skirts out of them? And we didn't know what to do with the flour. You know, we mixed it with water and, all kinds of stuff. It still didn't taste good. Well, my cousin Lucy is working for this Washichu Wia, and she showed her how to make fried bread and gabubu bread. Makes you so fat. Lost my belt. But anyway, I have some chiaka here too. So how you been? Okay, I'll tell you about what happened. Do you remember that place I took you to, Dik Timsila? Well, we were over there gathering Hayaka Pajuta, and all of a sudden this white man showed up. And he said that this was his land, and that if we didn't leave, he was going to report us and we might have to pay a fine. So we left, and I got back and I told Lala what happened. And he got so upset. And he heard about these hi-hats that are coming to the reservation. He said the hi-hats are coming to make more peace, but really he thinks they're coming to take more land. So we all went to the meeting with Lala. He wore his hat, he looked really nice. And he got up there and he told the hi-hats what happened to us. And he said, how could you fine us when you haven't paid us for the land that you owe us for? He said that they need to pay us with farming implements and horses so we can live our life in a dignified manner. He told them to look around the reservation and see how poorly dressed we are now that the buffalo's gone. I thought he gave a really good speech, but the hi-hat that was running the meeting, he stood up, he looked at Lala and said, shut up and sit down.
Dear Mama, I got your most welcome letter, but was so sad to hear of Daddy's lingering illness. I miss you both so much and wish I could be there with you, especially now. Carrie and her family are doing well, and the girls are growing like weeds. The new baby should be here by Easter. Robert says that he is hoping for a little cowboy because he says 2 girls are enough for one family and not worth their weight in gold anyway. Man, ugh. Curtis married his childhood sweetheart, Amanda Cook, last month, and Effie has a beau. His name is Russell Henry, and he's from Virginia, but is stationed at Fort Robinson, Nebraska. Oh, Mama, this is such a beautiful land, but it's in a state of unrest. The Buffalo Soldiers are everywhere now, and the Sioux, once such a proud people, are reduced to a mere state of sadness and poverty. And my heart just aches for them. The Dawes Act, which was supposed to help them, has turned out to be nothing more than a cunning plan on the government's part to steal more of their land. And this past year has been really hard on them. Summer was extremely hot and dry, which resulted in failed crops. And this winter, The bone-chilling cold and deep snow has killed many of their cattle. And also, their promised winter clothing and other government annuities have not yet arrived. Epidemics of measles, whooping cough, and influenza are sweeping across the reservation at an alarming speed. My friend, Lucy Lone Eagle, told me that hunger and disease have killed almost 50 Dakota children a month on the Pine Ridge alone this winter. And she was crying when she said, "All our children are dying from the face of the earth, and they might as well all be killed at once." Oh, Mama. People in other parts of the world have absolutely no idea what life is like here. All those stories you read in the newspapers, most of them are not even true. Mama, do you know that the Indians have feelings just like we do? And they love their children just like we do. They even cry just like we do. All they want is to be left alone, be able to live their own lives, to raise their children, and be happy. Please give my love to Aunt Fanny and hug Daddy for me. Love, Sadie and family.
Another letter came today. Well, it seems like the men's out on the prairie might see some action. My darling Mattie L. Last week, whilst we was patrolling Indian territory, we had to go help two miners settle a fight about their claims. One was from Germany and the other was from Ireland. I could hardly understand what they were yelling at each other. We had the hardest time trying to make sense out of what they were saying. They talk so different. We patrol Indian country mostly. We sing songs at night to pass the time. There's this one song that we sing that I know you remember. It tells the story of the ghost dance. It was written by Stephen Foster and it was called the Colored Brigade. You remember we used to dance to it every Saturday night. Well, I know the song. Let me see. Da 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 dum. Da 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 do. Let's see if I can put the words with the music. The Redskins left their agency, the soldiers left their post, all on the strength of an Indian tale about the Messiah's ghost. Got up by savage chieftains to lead their tribes astray, but Uncle Sam wouldn't have it so, for he ain't built that way. I surely wouldn't want to dance to those words. His letter goes on. Food here is scarce because of the drought. We gets about 3/4 of our rations, and here tell the Indians get less than that. We went to Pine Ridge Agency last week. It was a sorrowful sight to see. I didn't think you could see hunger, but we could see it on the Indians' faces. I met this woman named Kimemela. She gave me a basket of bread she could ill afford to give away. She called it gagubu bread, but it looked and tasted just like your pan bread. I tried giving some of it back to her, but her uncle insisted I keep it. Even when they're starving, the Indians are so generous. He said the buffalo soldiers are not so wise as they stay with their captors. I wonder what they mean by that. There was this Paiute Indian named Wavoka that say get ghosts would come back in the spring and bring buffalo and all the other game that the white men's killed off. That was what the Indians wanted to hear. Now the ghost dance religion is sweeping across the prairie like wildfire. The Sioux are grasping at straws just to get their life back like it was. I hope they settle the Indian question soon. Gotta stop, 'cause I hears taps. I remain your loving and faithful servant, Cicero. Well,
those Indians just had Jesus, that would be their salvation. Oh my goodness! Is that you really? Oh, Cicero! How long can you stay? Oh, I never thought you would ask. Mama, Papa, we got to set another table, a plate at the table tonight. We've got company. Papa, Cicero asked for my hand in marriage. And with your permission, he says, we can have a very quick wedding and we can go to Rapid City and I might find work there. Oh, I can't believe it's been a whole 2 weeks, a fortnight, and now you have to go. Now comes the hour of parting. I hear the sad farewell. My gallant love must leave me and break my heart's sweet spell. How can I live without you? My joy, my only love. I hear the drum, the hour has come. Goodbye, my soldier boy.
Way ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. Way ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. Way ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. Chungshi, it's so good to see you. Hey, honey, wash day. Good morning. Guess what? I have some wakalapi here, and guess what I'm making? I'm making some buffalo wasna. You know, some of our relatives came down from grandmother's land and bring us some buffalo meat, and it tastes so good. It tastes a lot better than that beef. I just hate it that they won't let us thank the cow for giving up their life, and now they're killing the cow and bringing us the meat. And sometimes the meat is not good. Chungshi, I want to thank you for letting me come stay here. You know, ever since your father died of that blanket disease, I hate living out there all by myself. I'm so lonely. Yes, I did go to Lala's house. But I'll tell you what happened out there. He's letting all of our relatives come and sit up on his land, and he's letting them do the spirit dance. And it's making the Indian agent so angry. When I was out there the other day when the Indian agent came and the tribal police, and the Indian agent McLaughlin said, "Make those men quit dancing and get off your land." And he said, "These men are grown men. If they want to dance, they can. And this is my land." But really, what scared me, Chungshi, was Lala told me he had this vision. He's seen us all lying dead in the snow. That really scared me. That's why I came over here. So thank you, Chungshi, for letting me stay here. Who is that over there? It's the Yapaha. Chungshi, you better stay there and let me go over and see what the town crier wants. He's coming over and it's so cold out. I better put my blanket on. Chungshi, the Yapaha just told me Lala was shot and killed by the tribal police. Why did they do that when he was only trying to help us? We must leave. I fear that they're going to be coming after us.
Stephen, have you noticed how all the news reporters refer to the ghost dance as a warlike ceremony? But it says here that before he was fired, Pine Ridge agent D.H. Gallagher was sure the ghost dance was harmless and would soon die out. But he was worried when the They cut the Indians' monthly beef issue from 470,000 pounds to 205,000. And he said that might cause some problems. You know, he was sure right about that. You know, it has gotten so bad that even Lucy has lost her faith. Yesterday after church, Bishop Hare found her Bible and her prayer book on the rector's table. And this morning, that cousin of hers, it's her name, Carmela, Carmelia, I never can quite get her name right, but something like. Anyway, Lucy said that it means butterfly. And I thought that was a really pretty name. Anyway, Miss Butterfly came by today and said that Lucy has left and went to join her parents and the other ghost dancers over on the stronghold. Oh, I do hope she'll be okay. But I don't know what I'm going to do now. Why, yes, I remember Cicero. He got married and his wife is coming from Kansas and she'd like work. You know, it wouldn't hurt to ask. Do you know what her name is? Mattie Elmira. Oh, that's a pretty name. We'll just have to ask, won't we? Oh, no. Oh, no. It says here that 200 Indians have jumped the reservation and they're camped on Battle Creek. And that they're running off the white rancher stock and committing numerous other crimes. Oh, it says that one cowboy was confronted by 20 Winchester armed Indians and forced to give up his saddle horse. No, it doesn't say who it was. Oh dear, it goes on. Charles L. Hyde from Pierre wrote a letter to the Secretary of Interior, John W. Noble, and said he had reliable information from a young Pine Ridge half-breed who is attending government school in Pierre that the Sioux are secretly planning an outbreak. Oh, Stephen, do you really think that the Sioux are going to go to war again? Oh, I hope not either. But I guess a body couldn't really blame them. After all, they have been dealt a great injustice. Did you know that even Sitting Bull was killed by 2 of his own people? Bullhead and Red Tomahawk. Oh, Stephen, I love this land, but I am so afraid. Oh, I would not exchange my old home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, and where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. I wonder what Dr. Brewster Higley would have to say now.
It is so cold. I'll add another log to the fire.
Could you make it 2, Miss Mattie, please?
Yes, ma'am. I got another letter from Cicero.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dear Elmira, no time to write a long letter. Just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas. The 9th is going on patrol. Then after that, we are on our way to Wounded Knee. It is dreadfully cold. The mercury hovers below 0, but the blowing wind chills us to the bone. Private Charlie Creek say you ate out in the cold like a dog, not in a tent, because the Indians gonna sneak up on you. It was so cold. The spit freeze when it leave your mouth. How are things going with Miss Babcock and her brood? Give my regards to Mr. and Miss Babcock, and thanks for letting you work in the roadhouse. Keep warm. Lovingly, Cicero. Such a hasty letter. I hope he'll be well.
So, do I smell bread?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It'll be ready in about 5 minutes.
Oh, it smells so good.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright.
The last couple weeks have been so difficult. We left the reservation fearing for our lives. We came down and met up with Lala Spotted Elk. He was on his way to Wounded Knee and he invited us to come. It was so cold. I haven't even had much chance to mourn for Lala Sitting Bull, and now Lala Standing Elk is sick. And then when we got to the Badlands, all of a sudden we're surrounded by soldiers. And some people say they're the same soldiers from the 7th Cavalry from the Greasy Grass. They walked among us asking us if we were Sitting Bull's people. Of course, nobody spoke. We wanted to live. They followed us to the reservation. They followed us to Wounded Knee. And when we got there, they took away our weapons. And I was just thinking that how are we going to cook? So after we set up camp, I started to take a walk around to look at the plants and herbs to find something to eat when I noticed that there was a wagon being pulled into the soldiers' camp. I walked closer and I seen it was a wagon full of crates of chicken, all plucked, ready to eat. And I was just thinking about how the smell of cooked chicken was going to increase our hunger when I noticed that the soldiers that were unloading the chickens were pulling bottles of firewater out of the chicken. I hate firewater and I hate how people act drinking firewater. I ran back, I told Chung Shi, we need to go, the soldiers are drinking. And we decided to leave in the morning, but it was too late. I heard talking, shouting. I heard weapons. We started running. The soldiers, they killed my Chung Shi. They killed my Takosha. They killed her husband. They shot me in the leg. I am all alone now. Umshika.
Oh no. Oh dear. Mattie, Mattie, have you seen this paper yet? It says that over 300 men, women, and children are dead. All dead. They were killed at Wounded Knee Creek in what it calls a battle. Uh-huh. Oh, but if what it says here is true, it was a massacre. Nothing but a cold-blooded massacre. Oh, Mattie. Oh, it says that the bodies of dead women and children were found as far as 3 miles away from the smoldering shambles of the Sioux campground. And that the soldiers stripped the Indian corpses of their shirts and dresses to keep as souvenirs, and they left the bodies lying naked in the snow. Mattie, oh, Mattie. Oh, one Indian was even scalped. How could they? Oh, here is a quote from our righteous Colonel Forsyth. He says, "Now we have avenged Custer's death." But you know, Philip Wells also made a statement about that day. And he said that the 7th started the fireworks that day up on the Little Bighorn. And they had every opportunity to fight for their lives. But these poor Indians never had a chance. Oh, dear God, have mercy on us all.
So all have done their share, you see, whether it was thick or thin, and all help break the ghost dance up and drive the hostiles in. The settlers in that region now breathe with better grace. They only ask and pray to God to make John hold his pace. My dearest, I always had my hunches, but today I found it true. The only reason we're going to Wounded Knee is so the 7th Cavalry could have revenge for the Little Bighorn. 4 troops of the 9th Cavalry finally left Pine Ridge Agency on March 24th. Our poet and songwriter, Sergeant William Prather, wrote this poem about this day at the agency. The rest have gone home, and to meet the blizzard's wintry blast, the ninth, the willing ninth, is camped here till the last. We were the first to come, we'll be the last to leave. Why are we compelled to stay? Why this reward receive? In warm barracks, our recent comrades take their ease, while we poor devils and the Sioux are left to freeze and cuss our luck and wait till someone pulls the string and start short bull with another ghost dance in the spring. We was just as ready to leave as the Indians was for us to go. The Indians complained that some colored troops came from their camp, so they are objecting to our color and prefer the whites. This shows what civilization is doing. At long last, with this furlough, we'll be together forever. I'll be in Rapid City, God willing, on April 5th. I remain your loving and faithful Cicero. Such a bittersweet time. My love and I can finally be together, but at what cost?
My name is Jerry Gosen Center, and right now we're going to say a prayer of healing and honor the four direction and sing the pipe song. And I welcome you guys to stand up and pray with us.
Oyatewa maya kapo.
And honor the South.
Oyatewa maya kapo.
I honor the East.
Lecha lupa kile wakan yelo.
I honor the North.
Oyatewa hilo.
I honor the West. I honor my sister, Mattie Elmira.
My name is Joyce Jefferson. I play the part of Mattie Elmira Richardson, eventually McCarty. Buffalo soldiers, proud and strong. Buffalo soldiers, they meant no wrong. Buffalo soldiers now come in peace. Buffalo soldiers ask your release.
Midako Yasin.
We are all related.
I honor my sister, Sadie.
My name is Lillian Witt, and I played the part of Sadie Babcock. My family came here looking for land and a new way of life, and in doing so, they hurt your family. And for this, we are deeply sorry.
Midako Yasin.
We are all related.
People look at me. People look at me. The pipe is sacred. The people shall live. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, and thank you all for coming out tonight. If you have a question for any of the three women here, please raise your hand. I'll bring the mic over. Wait till it gets there so everybody can hear your question.
Bye.
No questions? Yes, ma'am.
They must be
Coming your way.
exodusters.
Exodusters, yes.
I read in the program that you all researched your own parts. How did you find information about the characters that you played?
Oh, I'll answer first. Through the archives, like for example, with the liquor and the chicken, that was written in the diary of the wife who owned the liquor store in Hot Springs. And that's what she was writing, that the soldiers wanted to drink on, on New Year's or Christmas. So they took it down there and put it in the bodies of the chicken. And then from my own history, I researched where I came from, and I mostly did on foods and my own children.
Um, actually, I studied um, history in college, and a lot of that came out of the history books. I also spent a lot of time in the libraries and looking at newspapers and all kinds of stuff. And um, the Lucy Lone Eagle was a real person. She was a real person who had actually started going to church. I guess you'd say became a Christian. Um, and when it started getting bad and people were starting to go do the ghost dance, she started to make herself a ghost dance shirt. And her mother told her, "No, you've kind of went over, to this life, and you really need to stay here and not go with us." And so Lucy put it aside, and she was going to church and stuff. And then one day, they Bishop Hare, who was a Episcopalian preacher, actually found her Bible and her prayer book on the rector's table, and she had left to go join her parents and the other ghost dancers. And so she was a real person who I just kind of put in the part. And but yeah, lots of reading, different books, about 3 different sets of libraries, plus the one at Chadron State College library, which I guess makes 4 libraries that I actually went to a lot, and just read books and a lot of research.
I got most of the information about the Buffalo Soldiers through 2 sources. I've forgotten the authors, but the titles of the book are Eyewitness at Wounded Knee and Voices of Wounded Knee. And at the time that I was doing the research, that was about all that there was that I would be able to garner information from. The characters that I portray and talk to are my family. Mattie Elmira is my favorite aunt. She's the only one who's living now, so I can say that. And her husband is Cicero, and he was in the military also. Um, my cousin, I didn't have any sisters, so my cousin, Estelle, was my sister, and so was Rosira, who is Estelle's sister. And most of the scenes that I portray, I'm just remembering my grandmother and things that I thought that she might sing or ways that she might um, have acted when she was in the kitchen doing whatever she did. You're welcome. There's another person back there.
Yep, I'm coming.
You talked about wasna being, I think wasna being a something made from buffalo. Can you talk more about that? And is that the same as pemmican?
Yes, it's the same as pemmican, and wasna is dried buffalo, dried choke cherries, and kidney fat. And that's what our ancestors consumed before they were, before they were forced on the reservation. They had a feast and famine lifestyle, not like how people eat 3 meals a day. They would have the wasna and just eat it when they were hungry. And since I started making the wasna, I started to take it down to the reservation and sell it, and I got so many stories. And I think about my own grandmother because this is my grandmother's pounding stone. And I just remember her and my mother and my aunts. They had all had their pounding stones and making wasna, but we would make it with beef because at that time there was no buffalo. And they would serve it at ceremony and Sundance. And when I first started, I was very scared of wasna because they'd say, if you don't eat it all up, then the spirits are going to come get you. But later on, as I grew to be an adult, then I had got sick. I had got lupus, and the doctor told me stop eating beef. And just so happened the dietitian said buffalo doesn't have uric acid, and then found out it's very healthy for you. So I started making wasna, and it's real good. And I buy it from Intertribal Bison, which is a corp of Indian ranchers, and they say a little prayer before they kill the buffalo. And I get my choke cherries and everything from my relatives, like my sister Debbie back there and my brother-in-law Chris. Thank you for coming. and my daughter Rashana, but I put them to work, giving me the choke cherries. So that's how wasna is made.
Yes, sir.
Do I understand that the Buffalo Soldiers, the Ninth Cavalry, did not participate in the shooting at Wounded Knee? It was, or killing, that it was the 7th Cavalry?
It was the 7th Cavalry. They were sent out on maneuvers, and they had gotten caught in a snowstorm while it was going on. So they didn't make it back in time to do any fighting, but they did make it back in time to help clean everything up.
And I will add the Buffalo Soldiers are actually 4 regiments of the United States Army. It's the 9th and 10th Cavalry and the 24th and 25th Infantry Regiments. They were both stationed, all 4 were stationed at various times in Buffalo, Wyoming at Fort McKinney, and then up the road in Sturgis at Fort Meade. So all 4 elements were part of the group that was sent out on maneuvers and was not present for the actual event.
And the regimental headquarters is at Fort Robinson in Nebraska. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's someone who,
You do? Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel, ladies, that we're doing in this world where there's such division and, race issues and everything? We've got to get to the kids. How do you feel we're doing? The tribes. I mean, I track the tribes. I'm tribal, but from back east, it doesn't matter who I am or what I am, but my spirit, I'm back here like feeling all the grief still. But how do we get the kids to pay attention? How do we?
Well, I'll answer what I think. I feel really positive about the future because if you think about it, like my grandfather, Chief Lip, which is my mother's grandfather, came to the reservation, and we were like really oppressed and didn't know nothing, you know. So as our reservation, as like I got a college education, my daughter has a college education, and then we are teaching our kids the culture in the classroom, and so I feel positive about it. I feel like we're strong enough to face anything that like Trump or something. I'm just kidding, but
it's not kidding.
and but I feel like it's getting more positive and respecting each other's cultures, and respecting each other for who you are instead of the color of your skin. Does anybody else want to answer?
When we first started, what we tried to do was use symbols and other things to show how much we were alike. And we all have dolls. We all have quilts. And we all have the same kinds of feelings. And we're hoping that giving that kind of information through this play can stimulate people's understanding. As Jerry was saying, respecting each other's differences and celebrating their similarities.
Well, I think part of your question was how do we get our children to listen, pay attention, to what's happening? Yeah, all the young people, and I think sometimes they act like they're not paying attention, but they actually are, But I think teaching them the history. I mean, we like to go to schools to tell this story to the kids so that they maybe my hope is they will learn what happened in the past and know what happened in the past or pay attention so history doesn't repeat itself. such as the massacre, such as the Holocaust, such as, there's been so many horrible things that happen, and unfortunately it seems like the world's just getting worse and worse. But it's important for them to know the history and learn it. And I know that sometimes little kids, they're wiggling and squirming like in Sunday school or something. They're not paying a lot of attention, you think, but then when it comes down to it, yeah, this is what we learned, or this is what we did, and of course I feel that way because I have to teach primary and church. but I feel like sometimes you're not getting through to these kids. They're not paying attention. But if we do our part and tell them how it, tell them and explain it to them, something goes in and it sticks.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
It's just historical fun and how you guys were great. Fantastic.
Thank
You pronounced it Pierre as you're reading, and you pronounced it Pier. Was that on purpose?
Yes.
I love that you did that.
Well, my family's from Louisiana. Of course, they spoke French. So
So
it would be Pierre. It would not be Pierre.
That was wonderful. I laughed so loudly.
I was born and raised in South Dakota. It's
So
always
was I.
been Pierre.
We call it Crow Creek. No, just kidding. Crow
So
Creek.
it's always been Pierre, and Casey Tibbs is from Fort Pierre. So
Another
Yes,
hand.
ma'am.
Babcock family a real family in the area at the time?
no, that was just a name I pulled out of the air, because I was trying to think of something, that sounded actually kind of Southern. And I actually saw a horse thing on TV, and the man who was explaining it in Texas, his name was Babcock. And so, as far as some of the other names, my grandmother's name is Effie, and or was, well, I guess it still is. And and my grandfather, this is on my dad's side actually. They lived in Virginia, but my grandfather was Russell Henry Derflinger actually, and he was in the army. The army was his life career, and the last year of his army was in Fort Robinson. And and then some of the kids, my granddaughters, Ashland and Olivia, happen to be the names of my two brand new great granddaughters. So they're just in there because that's, just kind of family. I have an Uncle Robert on both my mom's side and my dad's side, and I always liked the name Curtis, so I named my son Curtis.
One more quick question. Your character changed from calling the Indian people savages to being very sympathetic to their plight. I'm guessing that when you did the historical research, you found both entities like, what's the name of the teacher gal from Rapid that was out of
Annie Talent.
Annie
Annie
Talent.
Talent was terrible,
Mhm.
with her attitude, but was
There-
that part
there-
of your research, that
Yeah,
attitude?
there was groups of women called they call themselves the Winona Club, and they were white ladies that would help the Indians and not even tell their husbands. And
Huh.
we ran into a lot of them a lot of the descendants as we did our play all over. Some of the play, my grandmother used to bring food to the reservation or something,
Um, you know, contrary to popular belief here, I wasn't born yesterday. I'm a couple days older than that. But when I was growing up, there was a lot of prejudice. There wasn't really prejudice in my home because my mother didn't, you know. I sometimes my dad might have been kind of prejudiced. He was born and raised in Virginia during a time when there was a lot of things going on, down in the South. And but when they lived up, lived on a ranch north of Faith, South Dakota, and we had friends. Faith has a lot of Native American people there, and I went to school with them, and they were our friends. We were rodeo people. They were great cowboys. My daddy roped with, a bunch of the guys from around Faith and Dupree that would come along. Um, they were friends, and so, but once I started high school and started going to Faith, um, you can see, the prejudice, really on both sides, kind of, but there was a lot of that, and so yeah, I grew up kind of with some of that, and but also I think that when people become more educated and learn the history, they realize that we really are, you know, we're all related. We're we're all under one God. We're all related, and that makes them my sisters. So, and how can you not love your sisters or your brothers, except once in a while? I have a brother.
I don't know
Sometimes
if
he
I
gets
like
on
her.
my nerves, but
I don't know if I like her.
huh?
I don't know if I like you. I'm just kidding. That's my sister-in-law. She's
Well,
married to my brother.
she might not like me, but I love her. So, except for when I'm mad at her.
Yes, ma'am.
So did you all make your quilts?
My grandmother made mine. My grandmother in Virginia. She was. We used to go to Virginia about once every 3 years, and she had this great fear of us living in South Dakota. We were either going to freeze to death, we were going to starve to death, or we were going to get scalped by the Indians. And there wasn't much she could do about the third one, but she always made lots of homemade quilts, and she always loaded us up with quilts and lots of home canned food so we wouldn't freeze to death and starve to death.
I had a different quilt, but it's gone. But this quilt I bought in the thrift shop for $2. And they said that they didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what it was either. So I drew that line in where it says it's a horse because I thought it was a pelican. And they didn't know. They thought some lady made a star quilt and didn't know what she was making, but I can see it's a horse now. So I love that star quilt. And usually, they're given an honor. So, but just so happen to have that one.
This particular quilt is a community made quilt. I was supposed to give a presentation on quilts on the Underground Railroad, and that was at the Journey Museum, and I asked to be last on the list. And I thought that I was supposed to be making a quilt, but I don't have any sewing skills. So at the end of the announcement of the entire 6 weeks of programming, this woman came up to me and she gave me each one of these in a box. Oh, yeah. And it was just the black and white ones. So I didn't know what to do with it. So there was a quilting place, and I said, "What can I do with this?" And they said, "Well, we've got this Civil War replica fabric, and maybe you could use some of that." So with my nil sewing skills, they showed me how I could put them on the fabric. You want to see it better? Stephen, could you help me, please? So they want to see it better. So I put them all on there. And when I went to make my presentation, I was not done with the North Star on the bottom. And I had a great big needle there that was holding it on. Then I finished it, and I was doing a presentation in Sturgis, And the teacher there said, "Oh, I do quilting." And she offered to put the backing on. And she put the little fringe around it, but I don't think that's what it's called. Bashing?
Sashing,
Thank you, sashing.
like when you dance.
Uh, so, so that tells the mnemonics for the slaves to run away. And I don't remember how it goes, but I'll do the best I can. The monkey wrench turns the wagon wheel to the bear's claws. Once at the crossroads, this one has to do with a log cabin. Shoe fly dress, is that right? Is that the shoe fly? Okay. Good thing there aren't lots of people who know quilting. This one is shoe fly, and part of it has to do with the wedding, dress up in cotton and satin bow ties. And, oh, golly, I know this one. Flying geese. Flying geese go to, and this one has to do with something being crazy. Okay, drunken sailor. And this particular one, once you get there, that's the North Star. So that's how you get from slavery to freedom. And I'll memorize that for the next time we have a question. No, I had it memorized at one time. But yeah, that was a community quilt.
Yeah, and they were very important during the pre-Civil War era. You would usually see these quilts posted at a state line, and that let slaves know whether to proceed or turn back, because there may be a drunken sailor up the road, and you will be caught.
So if the light in the cabin was a specific color, you could go, but if it wasn't the right color, you stayed in the background until it became the right color. Oh, you're quite welcome.
Yeah, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.